original Unearthing Mars got a lot of flack for its unfocused gameplay, horrible voice acting, and, well, these guys, making a sequel pretty much the last thing anyone would have ever expected. But developer Winking VR must have taken some of the criticism to heart and fashioned Unearthing Mars 2 around the only thing anyone seemed to like about the first game, its action-packed wave shooter final level. So with an unexpected level of optimism, I dove into this surprise sequel and quickly realized that, despite the guise of its new arcade shooter gameplay, Unearthing Mars 2 has more in common with its predecessor than we originally thought. With my aim controller in hand, I patiently waited for the introduction to wrap up so I could go in guns blazing, but Unearthing Mars 2 doesn't know the definition of brevity, and every story sequence drags on seemingly forever with its trademarked, Valium-induced voiceovers attempting to put me to sleep whenever possible. You'd think with this much exposition, there'd be a cool science fiction narrative tying the entire 2.5-hour game together, but none of it ever makes any sense, and after a while you'll be leaning on that square button to skip through it all as fast as possible.
Back then, there were unusual fluctuation in the Earth's magnetic field.
Luckily though, the game itself is a lot of fun, at least at first. You'll teleport through stages, blasting away wave after wave of seemingly endless enemies and dodging their attacks in real life, Blasters of the Universe style. All 6 futuristic weapons feel pretty satisfying, especially when using the aim controller, which tracks perfectly with no drift to be found and allows for a much wider range of movement than the optional DualShock 4. So why am I not more enthusiastic? Well, unlike, say, Time Crisis, most of the copied and pasted alien robot bad guys are total bullet sponges, making each wave feel more like a slog than it should, forcing you to use your bullet time cooldown constantly, offering up one-hit kills on all visible enemies if you're fast enough. This results in spamming the X button pretty much non-stop in hopes that maybe it recharged while you were fending off the latest round of attackers. On top of that, even though the environments have a unified look and feel, in general they border on the generic, with a low-res, almost flat look that holds the immersion back significantly. And finally, the much-touted boss battles are a really hit-or-miss affair. Some of them are fun, but some of them just aren't, and at least 1 or 2 feel more like a quick-time event than an actual boss fight. If you can't tell by now, Unearthing Mars 2 is a pretty mixed bag. It's a great excuse to use the aim controller, and once you get into a good rhythm, there's actually a lot of fun to be had here. But it's lacking the excitement and bigger moments of better games in the genre. So proceed with caution, because Unearthing Mars 2 is fun for a while, but you'll be ready to move on by the time the credits start to roll.